Hey, welcome back. Happy Monday, first day of school. I hope everybody got to where you were going, left a little bit early and did all of that. I know I did. It'll take it a couple of weeks to kind of settle down, but then we'll get back into the swing of things and kids going to school and buses. Just leave early and make sure you got plenty of time. There's nothing, it may be frustrating to have to go in and sign a kid in, but it sure beats getting into a fender bender and having to sign them in 30 minutes later with a wrecked car. So slow down, be careful, give everybody extra time, and it'll all work out. We've been doing this for a while. We've been really busy. Last week we reported through press releases quite a few of these cases, and we'll go over them quickly here today and hopefully provide a little bit of insight. One, Jasmir Tellez, 58 of Loris, pled guilty to third-degree criminal sexual conduct and received 15 years. All right, so there's quite a bit of discussion. Let me explain what's going on here. Because this is tough for lawyers, but what you've got to do to understand these is to understand that criminal sexual conduct, we'll just call it rape, is really two-tiered. One tier over here is what we always think of and see terrible movies about it. It's probably worse than death, but you know, somebody with a knife and forcibly raping someone at knife point or at gunpoint. That is criminal. That is rape first degree. Rape second degree is aggravated coercion, which looks a lot like rape third degree, which is really we usually use for a person that cannot consent because they're too drunk. So rape first, second, and third, but a real easy way to remember this one is this is statutory rape. So it also says rape 1, 2, and 3, but statutory rape depends on the age of the victim. We're not talking about knives, we're not talking about alcohol or any of that or anything in between. We're just simply talking about the age. So if statutory rape first is the child is going to be under 11 years old, 10, 9, 8, 5. That, of course, carries the worst penalty by far. Statutory rape second is a person has reached the age of 11 but hasn't reached the age of 14. So it's 11, 12, or 13. And that carries more time than statutory rape third. Statutory rape third means that the child has reached the age of 14 but has not reached the age of 16. So that third is 14 or 15, 15 and 364 days. And that is why when everybody says kill the pedophiles, I'm never on here defending or throwing down a law. I'm just telling you what the law is, and that is the law. So if it is statutory rape third, the most a person could get is 15 years. Now to me and you, it's very different if the perpetrator is 19 or 18. In this case, Tellez is 58, so it's real bad. But what they base these laws on is how old is the juvenile. So the most he could have got was 15 years. He got 15 years on criminal sexual conduct, statutory rape. Again, not saying that they shouldn't change it, give more, but that is the most the judge could have gave him. In another courtroom, a fantastic job, double murder, in Georgetown. Scott Hickson and Dylan Bagnall tried that case for the state. Ronnie Todd, it started on Monday. Now, this is where South Carolina is so much different from a lot of other states. That case started on Monday, would have been over with by Wednesday or Thursday, but the judge had a conference on Thursday and Friday. So all we were able to do was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We have one witness that we had to go into the next Monday that had nothing to do with the case. And that case ended Monday morning. The jury stayed out about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. In fact, there's already been the first appeal on Ronnie Todd's case where the defense attorney said the jury stayed out too short of a time. They didn't even consider anything. Well, the evidence was overwhelming. And, it doesn't, I guess the jury could have sat out there and ate and just wasted time, but it was overwhelming evidence as to what he did. In that case, you had phone messages, you had text messages, you had a lot of physical evidence, but probably the most damning thing for the defendant was a young man. I think he was 9 or 10 at the time, but he was in another room and he heard this all go down. And he knew Ronnie Todd's voice. He knew him. He actually called him Uncle Ronnie. So he knew him very well. Only in a courtroom do we say, well, that voice identification is no good. You know your wife's voice. You know your husband's voice. You know your uncle's voice. It may be hard to explain how you know it, but you know television people's voice that you hear all the time. So you would be able to identify through that voice. Anyway, he did a fantastic job. Ronnie Todd was convicted and got 2 life sentences. A lot of argument over that. What does that mean? And in South Carolina, it used to mean that you pulled 20 years and then you come up for parole every year, and you could stay for the rest of your life, but you could get parole. That's used to. In the 90s, that changed. Life means life. You die in prison, they leave you in there for a minute to make sure you're dead, and then they take you out and bury you or give your body to your family. But it means for the rest of your natural life, there's no parole, there's none of that. So, we get a lot of misinformation in the comments. We welcome you to comment, but life really does mean life. And there's a reason for that confusion, and the reason is it used to be different. But now it means you die in prison. Another young man in Aynor, I think he's 20 now, Demetric Stevens, 20. He and a group of people went over. There had been I believe that Stevenson thought he had been set up for a robbery. He went over to a girl's house and was fussing about that. Went up on the back porch. Her mom brought them all inside. And Demetric Stevenson shot through the back glass, killing the mother of 3, Sadia Salim. She had 3 daughters, and she, of course, passed away because of the gunshot wound. I was there that night working with the police, was there for them to bring him in, and, Stevenson just wanted to be all about that life, and this is what's happening to so many of our young people. He now is serving 30 years, which was the minimum, on murder, and he's also serving 30 years on the attempted murder, where he injured another, and that will be day for day. So if he is 20 today, he will come up to get out at 50. He had no prior record, all of that. Of course, he ended a life that is, we can argue over if it should have been 35 or 40 or 50 or life or death penalty, but his lack of a record and him being 20 years old obviously weighed into this. But he's got 30 years, and that is 30 years day for day. He'll have to serve each and every day of that. For some drug cases that we also covered last week, Marquise Young, 19, of Myrtle Beach, he got a 10-year sentence for having in his possession a large quantity of fentanyl. That's what we call trafficking weight. Obviously, they didn't catch him selling to someone else, but simply having a huge, it would be as though you went out on a much different level. We determine what you're going to do with it because we can't get into your mind. But if you've got a 6-pack of Busch Light, that may very well be for personal use. Or one is definitely for personal use unless you're handing it around. If you've got a keg, we assume that there's going to be that you are going to distribute that to other people. Is it perfect? No, there might be a person that could drink a keg. But the law is the law, and trafficking is based on those weights. So this large amount of trafficking, even for a first offense, got him 10 years in prison. And he is 19 years old, so hopefully that is something that people will be able to learn from his mistake. And finally, Everett Ford, who is 37, of Myrtle Beach, he got hit with a second offense of trafficking in cocaine and a second offense of distribution of crack cocaine. Of course, it's not fentanyl, but it is an illegal drug, and he got 10 years for that charge. That will also count as a strike in South Carolina. You have certain crimes where you hear about 3 strikes, like in baseball. That's one of those strikes. So he will have to, after serving the 10 years, he will have to come out and he will have a strike on his record. Those are some of the cases that we went through last week, and we'll be back again to give you an update Monday.